Hello and welcome to a City Voices interview with Ayesha Karim. Ayesha is a person who volunteers with NAMI, and she has a lot of, she's a writer and she has a lot going on, and she has a great story to tell. So my first thing for you, Ayesha, is for you to you have 15 minutes, okay? To just tell your whole story from the beginning to up to the present day. And if you want to include some mental health stuff, that's cool too. But we really wanted to hear your story as you envision it. So go ahead, Ayesha. It's all you.
Oh, thank you, Dan. I had become mentally ill in high school. I had noticed my illness had the beginnings. I was admitted into a freshman class, high school, in Fort Greene section of Brooklyn to a school called Bishop Loughlin Memorial High School. I was accepted as a freshman into the honors program. I started having trouble sleeping my freshman year, and I had missed 30 days of school by the end of my freshman year. I had a lot of things I was doing that weren't as good, but I was able to do pretty well in school. After having a psychotic break, 2 weeks after my 14th birthday, I started to have a lot of symptoms, and it made it more difficult to maintain mental focus and while I was in high school, it was very difficult for me with my illness. And just as a youth, I had had a lot of bullying. I experienced a lot of threats from other kids, and my high school teacher was even saying she was going to let me graduate early at the other school. And when I thought I would have been barely 17, I would have been still considered 16 if I had gone back to that school. But I was being threatened. I once had the experience one of these bus drivers that on the Trenton bus, because I lived in Ewing with my family, and we were bused to the school. And some of the kids, this kid was 12 and he went to try to bite me. And there were a lot of behavioral problems. But the one thing I do remember, this particular school in New Jersey, in Flemington, I was the only person of African heritage in the class. That's one thing that just stands out in my memory. Um, I basically had went to Mercer after high school, encouraged by that very kind female high school teacher whose class I was in. But at the same time, she couldn't do much about things because it's high school, and she kind of needed me to kind of say, I'm not a baby. I can manage myself. I had volunteered with NAMI since like January of 2011. But before my story, I graduated from college at 34. I had written a personal like essay, like a memoir. And after I graduated from the creative writing program at New Jersey City University in Jersey City, I kind of was able to say, I also wrote an almost 20-page memoir, was able to share some of my thoughts and feelings and some of my story with other people. And it's called Tale, Tale, Tale of Three Half Sisters. I was 34 years old when I graduated from college, but that was one of my biggest achievements in my life. I even write for children. I had finished a course with the Institute of Children's Literature, and my instructor liked something I made up called Mama's Little Helper, a little autobiographical story. And she said, "Hey, I like this." She couldn't guarantee publication. I even paid for two critiques of it where I had an extra set of eyes on it, what's working, what's not. And I got quite a bit of help from the critiques also. For me, it's important, to think of my mother and father, to think of my family members and not just me. I've sent quite a few nice cards to family over the years. Before my grandma passed, I had gotten her the year before I had gotten her a nice birthday card for grandma, and I had really bonded with my grandma before she passed. I was glad. I even had a poem I had published in her little program for her funeral, and I had dedicated the poem to my grandmother. And to my delight, many of my family members said, "Ayesha, we like the poem too." I had some difficult experiences being bullied as a kid since second or third grade on up. And it was kind of something that would make me feel sad because there were a lot of kids that were mean, and not every kid, even when I was a kid, was interested in playing with me. I had some difficult experiences as a child but I didn't let it bother me. And you know what's funny? Even at my age, I'm 41, but I feel very comfortable with myself and as myself. And I would make a suggestion to anybody that before they like lose, I would say never lose your positive self-image or your opinion of yourself to try to please other people. That's something that I just always say to myself, because I feel that peace on the inside from the Lord. And because it's here, he gave it to me, and no one can take that away. I know a lot of people, they would say, they don't know what to do with a social situation with their illness and don't feel this. Even NAMI had social anxiety workshops. There were people that would come and then like an hour later they were gone. Me, I'm trying to be more in the moment, maybe even be a little party animal where I go and I enjoy the party instead of just running home after the first hour. I feel more daring now because I'm older. A lot of my difficult experiences when I was a child, I couldn't do anything about them. And now that I'm older, I feel very comfortable in my own skin, but had a real traumatic childhood, man. Childhood was traumatic. It was like me, my mother's side of the family, and some of my sisters in another part of New York in the Bronx. We were in Brooklyn, two-family brownstone, and I didn't feel as safe with family members. My mom had family members that had dementia and Alzheimer's for years that barely like recognized me. Even my grandmother, I think she had trouble with, because usually with aging, you find somebody's got dementia or somebody's got Alzheimer's. That's just the nature of aging. Sometimes our older relatives like might have some gaps in their memory or but when my grandmother passed, I miss her right now. But when my grandma passed, I said, grandma's in a better place now. She probably just had a lot of difficult experiences because she was an elderly woman. My grandma was in her 80s, but I never just thought of myself. I always thought of grandma, especially on her birthday or Christmas time when I get her a nice gift. She said, "You always got me so many nice gifts." And I know when she appreciates that, I just wanted her to feel appreciated too. I didn't want to do anything that was outside of her comfort zone. And I had written a poem for her.
Hi, Ayesha.
Yeah.
Can you share with us your spiritual journey, your spiritual life?
Okay. My spiritual life is praying to God. And sometimes if a friend would invite me to mass or something, I would go just to have the experience of being in the church and having, singing along with the choir when you do praise and worship. My aunt belongs to a very popular Christian church called the Brooklyn Tabernacle. And the times I've gone there and worshiped, I felt uplifted. Like I felt like just going, not often, but from time to time on a Sunday, just going to Brooklyn Tab and meeting her. It gave me spiritual upliftment. And but from my name, the origin of my name is even not African, it's Muslim. I had a Muslim father that died when I was a child, and his name was Ahmed Karim. So that's how I got my name, Ayesha Kareem. I've just always loved my name because it's unique. But at the same time, I remember even as a child in school, a lot of the other children would say, "I like your name," or some little compliment they might give me. But at the same time, because of my difference in coloring, a lot of times I tried not to make a big deal about things because sometimes I had friends that would always mention, my difference in coloring being dark. I used to try and to just kind of not make a big deal about it and just kind of breathe. Things like that I remember. But for me, God and spirituality are really the only way to go. I couldn't get through my day without, at least praying to God or muttering a prayer and saying, God, when I get anxious or overwhelmed, remind me that you're there. Remind me that I'm not alone in these things I'm going through. Help me to encourage my brothers and sisters that have similar struggles to see that you're there and that you're not distant, God. You're there.
You had an experience of a direct divine intervention of some kind. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. I was at a day program in Princeton, of all places. Really nice area in Princeton on Alexander Road. And I had had an experience where I had supernatural peace washed over me from my head all the way down. And it helped me to sleep better. And this was when I was 30 or 31. It was my early 30s. I didn't know what to make of it, but I knew that it was either a guardian angel or it was God. And this is what made the difference. The person intervened on my behalf. I know a lot of people say Jesus is our high priest. He goes to the Father, God, with all of our difficulties and concerns, and he prays for us.
What was that a difficult time before you had an experience with God?
It was very difficult. There were times I had trouble sleeping. There were times I had to say to myself, you should got to go to programs, more power down the internet. Think about Monday through Thursday, keeping your schedule, Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday. I do now, but I used to try to remind myself that if it's a weekday, Monday through Friday, I need to not play around and run the risk of having a sleep disturbance or hospitalization. What I would do, I would take my laptop, I would put it in the area, power it down, and just make sure it charges, and then I would go to sleep. This divine intervention that I received, it was either an angel or God. And when the person intervened on my behalf, had it not been for this person, I don't think I would have been able to live this long.
As
It's a
we close, what did you say, Aisha?
it's a peace way down in my spirit I felt from the experience. It wasn't something where I doubted the existence of God or I had even just the intrusive thoughts sometimes from the enemy would be very pronounced. And I felt like the enemy was attacking me. It was hard to even like really talk about because, sometimes if I'm on the weekends, if I kind of help my mom a little bit or if I try to get my room clean, the moment my parents see that I'm doing something, they always say, Aisha's trying to fix up her living space. And they were always kind and supportive of me. And even though we had our problems over the years, I wouldn't disrespect them. They made sacrifices for me. Even my stepfather said, when I was at my job, you could get benefits from me also. I thought of them both being supportive, and I just had to try to contribute and help from time my mom from time to time.
Aisha, as we close this interview, my last question to you, it's more like I ask you to search your heart and to come up from your heart to your mouth to the words. Um, can you say something that your heart wants to convey to the viewers of this video? Something, do you have a message? Do you have something you want them to take home with them?
Yes. Anybody watching this recorded video, I want you to know if you have a family member that is affected by mental illness and you don't know what to do for your family member, I would try to get involved with NAMI or get some information from your local NAMI affiliate or the individual or family member that is struggling with his or her mental illness. I wouldn't have this person isolated. I would also think they could make their own choices, but I would try to take my friend or family member affected by mental illness to church with me, or to find a place where you can worship, where you and your family member can seek God at a church in your area. You want to get a Bible-based church, especially.
Um, Here's a question. Like what percent importance is spirituality and religion, and what percent importance to your recovery is, all the medical interventions, psychiatry and medication and therapy?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I would say it's 50-50. So I still need my medication because I have it injected. It helps me more because I don't have to worry about the pills, but I still feel like I need that medicine and that psychiatrist appointment once a month or every other month just to make sure I'm okay. I would never encourage the person to just go with religion. I would say do both. You want to go with your psychiatrist checking in every month or so, and you want to take your medicine as prescribed. But I would also say you need the spirituality and God also. You might be able to just get a New King James or a New International Version of the Bible, start reading it. I think it's very important to have spirituality and God in your life. I could not have it because it made the difference. This angel or God intervened on my behalf in my early 30s, healing me supernaturally, helping me to sleep better than I did as a child. And I recommend to people, sometimes we don't see God, so many people are convinced he's not there, but he's there. And I would always encourage people, even go into Barnes and Noble. I remember my mom was looking up literature on schizophrenia for all the information in books. It's important to say, even NAMI has their library with a bunch of books that it's a resource to a person that doesn't have information, regardless of your diagnosis. I recommend researching mental illness too and trying to get more information about these conditions.